to make a video today where I'm not only just speaking from the heart, because I already do that as much as I possibly can, but where I am a little bit less filtered and a little bit less organized. And I know that that probably will get on some people's nerves when I'm not very organized and I just kind of flow from one thing to the next, but that's also very much what you get with me in general. I wanted to make this video specifically for my Patreons, my Patreon page, because I wanted you to get a sense of how I do what I do. I think, and who I am, frankly, because I think there's a huge amount of folks out there who see someone and expect to have only one thing from them. They're my expert in Social Security. They are my expert in home improvement. This person's my expert in yoga, and I don't fit easily into any of those categories. I never have, and I think that's been challenging for me, especially throughout my career, because in a lot of ways I'm a generalist. I specialize in a lot of things. Locally, I'm still seen in many ways as as an expert, for example, in Social Security disability law. You know, there's other people out there who I think are better informed than I am and are better at this, but I am also better, I believe, at really recognizing where the humanity and the law come together. And it's something that was really frustrating to me throughout all of law school, was the policy argument. The should this be our policy was viewed as one of the kind of lower forms of argument, and it was always my favorite one. And not that I couldn't argue the law based off of the way that we analyze precedent, and what are the relevant facts and things like that. I can do all of that. I'm capable of doing all of that. I found myself disagreeing with the priority that is the only way to do things. Specifically when we are creating rules, regulations, guidelines, standards for all of society. I have spent most of my life being at the fringes of so many different worlds, meaning that I'm half Mexican, I'm half Irish, Scottish, British, something of that variety. And so I was always never brown enough, but I was always too caught up in my Latina identity, my Chicana identity, to really fit in white either. So that experience growing up and recognizing the differences in those cultures, the differences in the priorities in which I was raised, I really straddled two very, very different worlds, and I served as a bridge between two different worlds. And I say that right now, and for a long time on my cover letters I would talk about how is there a bridge between communities, a bridge between disparate viewpoints. I always sought an opportunity to find that common ground between what you want and what I want, what I desire and what you desire, or what these two sides want of each other. And I say all of that right now, and maybe this is more like a confessional, I guess, but I say all of that right now because it's been on my mind quite a bit. The ways in which what I was taught to respect and revere about the law, about justice, and about fairness is coming into direct contradiction with the values that I want to have as a human being living in this time right now. There's a lot of ways in which, and I confess, I don't have a list in front of me. I'm quite intuitive, meaning that I live in this really weird, fun, gray area between all of these disparate systems. All these systems that seem so non-connected to each other, I live in the spaces where they are connected to each other. I recognize and see the patterns of how, our legal system or our criminal justice system feeds into our education system, and our education system feeds into our healthcare system, and all of it is interconnected for me. That's my viewpoint, and that's what I'm bringing here to you guys. I say all of that because when, in encountering that conflict between my values, what I believe, what I want for this world, my vision for this world, which is no different than anyone else's vision. I think all of us want peace. All of us want harmony. All of us want to feel special, included, and important. And because I've lived at these gray areas and these spaces in between various cultures and identities, I'm bisexual, so I also bridge these really weird gaps over there too. And I am interested and invested in being someone who understands the value and the meaning of connection. Our legal system in particular, and why I chose to go on inactive status as an attorney, which, I know is not that big of a deal for a lot of people, but it is a big deal for me because this has been so sewn into my identity for the last 17 years since I graduated law school. 20 years, frankly. I started law school 20 years ago last month. And it's huge. That's 20 years of, some accumulated trauma, living in that weird little conflict between what you believe and what is right under the law. Which I'm not saying that the law is wrong in that sort of sense, but I do feel like we have outgrown how we visualize and conceptualize our legal systems. I have worked with so many people who live at those margins with me, who, they're not solidly in one community or another, one identity or another, and frankly, I kind of feel like that's the way that humanity needs to be, is none of us are just one thing. We're not one-dimensional or two-dimensional beings. There is more to us. There's a complexity to us. There's a depth to us. There is a joy within us and a sorrow within us that can be tapped and utilized both for good and for evil. I laugh when I say the word evil because I frankly don't believe in it. I don't believe that there's anyone on this earth who is 100% good. Even if you look at Jesus, he disobeyed his parents to go to the temple and teach at the temple when he was a kid. Something I can relate to because I kind of did some similar things in life. Even though he's acting for a higher good, he still disobeyed and betrayed his human parents and made them scared. So even when we're pursuing our highest good, we will encounter problems along the way. We will have to betray these rules that have been given to us that maybe we didn't choose for ourselves, or that right now are standing in opposition to acting for our highest good. And all of these ideas are coming around to me specifically this week as we look at a presidency that has flagrantly disobeyed the law over and over and over again. And they have a whole section of humanity convinced that they're doing so for the highest good. I've worked for the highest good for a very long time, and I am not seeing that. Many think that our highest good is a lack of regulation and a lack of rules and a lack of even information. And it's not that I disagree, and it's not that I agree. Because ultimately, those rules and those regulations are in place because we cannot trust one another to be good actors for one another. In some ways, we do recognize that there is a conflict between someone's highest good, their immediate gain, and the laws that we place in between. All of that. There's competing influences all the time. We want people to act for their highest good, but we have these constant moral and ethical dilemmas, which I think is what makes us different as a species, in that we evaluate those types of dilemmas, or I hope that we do. But what has me concerned is when we are being led by people who do not engage in that thoughtful reflection of, are we doing the right thing? Are we supporting the right person? Are we supporting the right message? How does this message align with my highest good? And how does this message align with humanity's highest good? And that conflict, that inner conflict, is what has me so pensive, I think, the last few weeks, because not only did I leave the law, I'm leaving behind a lot of what I used to believe about it and our systems. I've always been a systems person. Always. And I'm going to be very, very candid when I say that there are a number of people who are concerned about breakdowns of certain systems, of truths that have not been revealed. And in my viewpoint, I think it's hard for me to have compassion for that particular viewpoint, because for me, my education has been exceptional. I didn't go to Harvard. I didn't go to an Ivy League school. I wasn't a Rhodes Scholar. I am not the expert in literally anything. I am multidimensional in so many ways, and people don't know what to do with me. Because in order to be a connective person, in order to bridge the gaps that exist between people and communities, you have to know enough about each of those communities to adapt and to understand and learn and to humble yourself, and you don't become an expert in anything. But my education has been exceptional. I've had experiences in my life that were indescribably beautiful. Indescribably sorrowful. I have witnessed and felt the wounds of humanity to a depth that unlocks a resilience and a radiance that I really want people to understand and to accept and to embrace. But in order to do that, we have to deal with our own darkness, and we have to deal with our own ignorance, and we have to deal with our own biases, and we have to deal with all of the beliefs that we've accepted and how they are in conflict with the society that we continue to sponsor. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't. I don't have a recipe for how we get there, because I don't think any of us agree as to an ultimate destination. We agree, I think, on many other things. I think we agree that we want peace in our lives. I think we agree that we want to feel like we belong and that we want to feel like someone's got our back. I think we agree that love is our highest quest on some level or another. We disagree with how we pursue that quest. We disagree with honoring someone's own choices about how they pursue that quest. And so we have laws and regulations because we distrust other people to make the choices that we believe are best for them. We're seeing that all throughout this election. I have been holding myself back actually quite a bit in both my blogging and what I'm saying on social media, and it's purposeful right now for my own mental health, because I've worked in politics on some level since I was 12, 14 years old, almost as long as my calling. Been interested in politics, and for a long time I thought that was going to be my calling. That was my calling for a very long time. Not even was going to be, it was. And what I am seeing in our world right now is a breakdown of these systems and how it reveals how much we have relied on what other people created for us during a time that didn't have nearly any of the challenges that we do now. And I'm talking primarily about the United States, but it's not just the United States, because there are global financial systems. There are global governmental, intergovernmental programs. There is so much interconnectedness between us, and yet a lot of our laws and a lot of our practices and a lot of our beliefs are rooted in this idea that we are so separate and different from each other that we can't trust one another to play fairly. And so we have to define what playing fair looks like. And in some ways, sometimes I agree with that. But a lot of times I also think if we were to just heal that core wound of this denial of our interconnectedness, that we really could do something magical. And so I just wanted to make this video. It's only, I'm just talking today. But as we move into this election, which, by the way, been watching videos, reading blog posts, hearing for a year now how the astrology of Election Day is quite significant. And, there's so many resources out there and so many different voices out there who are sharing similar messages. But I want to add my voice to that. It's not even just the astrology or the spirit or the awakening of humanity. It is about humanity. And it is about really digging into ourselves and really being honest with ourselves and really turning the mirror on ourselves and seeing the ways in which we vote with our pocketbook. We vote with our likes and our clicks. We say, I want peace, but then we spend money on implements of violence or depictions of violence. We say that we just want to be understood, but we don't take the time to understand. So these contradictions, this is at the root of our polarity right now as a nation. Each of us within are having this push and pull between what we believe, what we want, and what the law and what society tells us we should want or allows us to have. We are going to be moving from a system that is heavily defined for us to a system that is heavily defined by us. And in order to move and bridge that gap, we have got to start listening and understanding. We have to start finding our experts and finding our own expertise. We each have earned experience in this life. Each of us have an opinion. Each of us have an opinion, for sure. But seek out different ways to hone that opinion, to sophisticate that opinion on some level, to elevate it, to allow it to be an expression of your highest self. And a lot of what I see online and a lot of what I see, you know, in our media and even in our election right now is not a reflection of our highest self. Who are we? Who do we want to be? And how are our actions and words betraying those intentions? So that's all I've got today. And I really appreciate you being here. And part of the reason why I made this video is also so that you understand a little bit more of what I'm attempting to do with this channel, what I'm attempting to do with my work, and how all of it connects together. I will have a free training available to those in the behind the scenes level of my Patreon. I believe that is the $11 level, $13 level. So if you are a behind the scenes sort of person, I will have a 45-minute presentation on what trauma-informed social change is, how I define that. I'll have another smaller 15-minute video that I'm going to be posting here to YouTube very soon. That kind of, you know, talks about my personal reasons for why I care about those things. I encourage you to follow me on social media. I'm Sharp Sweet Bella on both Instagram and Twitter, where you get to see me in all my fun imperfections, but all of my greatest aspirations. I do try to live my message as much as I can, and I know I am very honest with myself, or I try to be very honest with myself about where I fail. And so what I offer to you in the work that I do and in the ways in which you can support me is that honesty and integrity of who I am applied to the dilemma that we're all facing together, and sharing my story with you so that hopefully maybe you find a little bit of usefulness in there for you as well. So thank you so much for being here, for being on board. I'm going to be posting a few more videos, and you can expect videos from me every other week on YouTube. So thank you so much.